In Thursday night's matchup between the Timberwolves and Mavs, Anthony Edwards shot a whopping 3 of 19 from the field. That's 15.8%. He didn't make a single three, shot 50% from the free throw line. I mean, the guy was basically allergic to putting the ball in the basket. And on the other side of things, Luka had an efficient 39 points and 13 assists. So you'd think with that combination, the Mavs would win in a blowout, right? Well, that looked to be the case early on. After Doncic hit this ridiculous 4-point play, Dallas found themselves leading 17-2 just 3 minutes in. But the Wolves were far from out of this one, and it started with the play of Ant. Here they're gonna run an action that curls him off a screen towards the middle, and with his defender on his backside, a big in drop coverage, he's left with a few feet of space to attack, and takes advantage with his one-of-one athleticism. On this next one, he's gonna initiate from the mid post, using a few shoulder bumps to work his way closer to the basket, where he finishes an incredibly tough bucket through contact. That's 2 of his 3 made field goals in a span of 5.5 minutes. And what just those 2 possessions did was establish that interior threat. Now the defense knows he's looking to score and treats it accordingly. This time he's going to set up a high ball screen, but when Jones jumps to his left, he rejects it by spinning right. And to avoid giving him that space to attack, Lively brings his drop a bit closer to the ball. Ant takes a couple dribbles to keep Lively attached, meaning that Luka has to slide down from the weak side to tag Gobert's roll. All of that leaves Nickeil Alexander-Walker on an island as he steps into a high-quality corner 3. A few minutes later, they went back to the high ball screen, except this time it's with Naz Reid, not Gobert. So instead of a roll, it's a pop. And because Lively is forced to pick up on the ball, Reid's left all alone for a top-of-the-key triple. After playing the entire first quarter, he checked back into the second about halfway through, Wolves trailing by 11. Immediately, he made his presence known, and it started with some defense. He steals a pass from Luka and turns on the Jets to push the pace. He then applies some pressure to the paint before finding a streaking Jaden McDaniels, who moves it one pass over to Naz, as he sets his feet for another wide open 3. Transition basketball is all about moving the ball with speed and making the right decisions, and that's exactly what he did, on this one finding who else but Naz Reid on the wing. In the half court, you can see that despite not shooting particularly well, the defense treats him no differently. When he sets up for an open side isolation, Luka comes over from the weak side to preemptively load up and offer immediate help on a drive. Ant's not going to force it though, just taking what the defense gives him as he skips it over to, you guessed it, Naz Reid for his 5th three-pointer of the half. This is maybe the most obvious example of a star elevating a teammate that I've ever seen. I don't want to take anything away from Naz, who had himself a night, knocking down 7 threes for a total of 27 points, but most of these opportunities start with Ant's threat as a scorer bending the defense. On one of the final plays of the half, Ant starts in the corner and gets pulled towards the middle with a dribble handoff, so that he can set up the high pick and roll with Towns. Again, Lively's gonna pick up the ball in drop coverage, but he doesn't want to rush his decision, instead hesitating a couple times as if looking to shovel it over to Cat, and that gives him a lane all the way to the restricted area, where he earns himself a couple free throws. In quarter number 3, it again started with the defense. He makes a great closeout to run Derrick Jones off the line, then slides his feet laterally to close off the initial driving lane, funneling him right into the rim protection of Rudy Gobert. That block then starts a fast break, a prime example of turning great defense into easy offense. Most of Ant's time on defense was spent matched up with Jones in the corner, and his athleticism allows him to make plays in these spots that a lot of guys just can't. Here you're going to see him slide down to tag Lively's roll, leading Luka to believe that the kickout pass is a home run. But because of the agility, he's still able to close that space. Of course, Ant's biggest draw on that end of the floor though is how ferocious he can be at the point of attack. Just look at this possession against Luka. first sliding his feet to cut off the change of pace and using his lower body to absorb contact, holding his ground as he sticks with him on a drive. Then when he pulls back, controlling his momentum to stay with that, and once again completely walling off the paint. Luka decides to kick it out and reset, but Ant's not done. He nearly steals the pass on its way back to Doncic and picks him up all the way out at half court. A screen comes and he goes under, a second screen comes and he stays attached over the top, and that's about 20 seconds of shot clock where Luka tried like 3 or 4 different methods of getting rid of Ant, and he wouldn't budge. He played every single minute of the third, and the Wolves had a ridiculous 78.6 defensive rating, completely shutting down the Mavs offense. And on the other side of things, it was some more of the same, with Edwards creating opportunities for others. Early in the offense, he comes off a ball screen, and like I keep saying, despite a poor shooting night, Dallas still wants to on the ball. He wastes no time giving it up to Reed, who has an easier angle to get it to Gobert in the middle, and after some very questionable footwork, they've got an open dunk. About halfway through the fourth is when he'd make his final return to the game, and they already had a pretty comfortable lead, so from there it's just about making sharp decisions to not let them back into it. Like on this one, just making the right extra pass early into the possession instead of overthinking or forcing things that aren't there. And when there is no immediate read to make, that's when he'll slow it down and attack himself, isolating from the wing, threatening a few pull-up jumpers before gathering at the elbow, up faking Jones out of his shoes and stepping through. But not to finish, instead throwing an absolute dime to the opposite corner as Conley hits a 3 to extend the lead to 16. They'd ultimately go on to win by 18, and Edwards finished with an unimpressive 9 points on 19 shot attempts, so I definitely don't want to frame this performance as some sort of masterclass. With that said though, he also matched his career high of 11 assists, and the Timberwolves had an offensive rating of 119, so he clearly did something right if you ask me. Of all the numbers, my favorite one is that in his 34 minutes, the team was plus 20, and in the 14 without him, they were just -2. Now of course that's not an individual measure, but I think it speaks to how his impact was still felt through playmaking and defense despite not hitting his shots. And that's important because it shows how much Ant's grown and continues to grow as a player. He's so much more than just a scorer. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out my website and social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you think of Ant. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.